In a series of lectures, I'll be talking about the integration of metabolism, various aspects. In this session, I'll be describing about general aspects of the integration of metabolism. The objectives of this session are, at the end of the session, the learner shall be able to define integration, describe types of integration, and describe significance of integration of metabolism. Metabolism is not a single entity. Metabolism is not a single entity. It is not a one-time process. It is a continuous process. Okay. So for the convenience, when you are studying of the metabolism, so we separately study carbohydrate metabolism, fat metabolism, and protein metabolism. When we study, okay, we study separately. Okay, but in fact, it is not so. So there is no separate carbohydrate. There is no as such. It is a single entity, carbohydrate metabolism, fat metabolism, and protein metabolism when they are taking in a cell. Okay. And they are not taking separately the pathways. Most of the metabolic pathways, so they are taking place simultaneously, most of the time occurring simultaneously in a cell. Okay, in a cell. So they are not as a separate entity. They are not taking place at different times. It is taking place in simultaneously. Okay. Then why integration of these pathways? When they are taking the simultaneously, integration of pathways is taking place. Why it is so? So the integration of pathways is to maintain homeostasis. Integration of the pathways is taking place. When you talk about the metabolism can be synthetic and also catabolic. So metabolism, two aspects of metabolism. One is anabolic, that is synthetic, and the other one is catabolic, so that is breakdown pathway. Okay, so then mainly we are referring the three metabolic pathways. Of course, there are other pathways are also there. What are those pathways? So that is metabolites, carbohydrates, lipids, that is fats, and proteins. So these are major constraints. So this one. So what happens? The synthetic pathway and catabolic pathway. So processed through this one, processing of these nutrients is taking place. Processed for what? All these, so they are processed. Okay. So this one for the both, for the ATP, that is, we call it metabolic fuel, that is energy, and also for the biosynthetic, it is biosynthetic. Okay, so biosynthesis of required compounds. Okay, biosynthesis of a required compounds. Then let us deal with the objectives one by one. The first one, as I said, definition. What is integration? Integration is nothing but coordination or cooperation. Coordination among the metabolites. They are carbohydrates, okay, proteins, and fat. So coordination among the metabolites. Okay, it is called as integration. Okay, so that is coordination among carbohydrates, proteins, and fat, and also many other metabolites. So that is what we called as integration of metabolism. Okay, so that is the way we define integration. Then the next objective is how. So how means we said various ways and okay types, and at which level it is taking place. Integration can be two ways. Integration can be two ways. So one is the at the cellular level, cellular, okay, level. That is the one way of integration. The second one is organ or tissue level, tissue level. Okay, so we will discuss in the series of lectures first cellular level, then organ or tissue level. Okay, then third aspect is why. Why integration? What is the significance of integration? Why integration has to take place? So we are talking about significance of integration. When you talk about the significance of integration, the first one is it ensures, it ensures, okay, it ensures supply of supply of suitable suitable okay fuel, supply of suitable fuel for okay for all suitable fuel for all tissues, okay, for all tissues, for all tissues, and also all the times, okay, all times. What does it mean all the times? It may be post absorptive state, that is fed, and fast, and also starvation, that is starvation stays in all times in all the tissues. So in all these states, in all these states, okay, so the metabolism metabolites has to ensure to supply the energy. Okay, the second significance is calorie balance, that is calorie balance. So let us see what is it. So it is calorie balance in under various conditions. What are those various conditions? Let us see what are those various conditions. The first one is positive, and the second one is positive and negative calorie balance. When will be the positive calorie balance? Here it is, so when food energy, so food intake takes place, that is in other terms we can say fed state, food intake, okay, food intake has taken, so the energy so is stored either, okay, either in the form of glycogen or okay fat, or both, fat or glycogen, or both. Okay, negative means when we are in the fasting state, let us say starvation, prolonged fasting, starvation. So in these conditions what happens, the fatty acids are oxidized. What is the purpose of oxidation of fatty acids? Because they are oxidized in preference, okay, to glucose. In preference to glucose, fatty acids are oxidized in the condition of prolonged fasting or starvation, because the purpose is to spare glucose, for okay important tissues where so there is absolute requirement of glucose, like brain and RBC. These tissues cannot function without continuous supply of glucose. Okay, then the third aspect is when carbohydrates are not available. When there is a shortage of carbohydrates. In that conditions, what happens? Carbohydrates. So shortage of carbohydrates. Okay, then what happens? So available fuels are used. Fuels oxidized. So that means fat, ketone bodies. So they are oxidized. So what is the order of preference of these fuels? Order of preference of these fuels. Okay, so it is first ketone bodies, okay, ketone bodies, then followed by, first is the ketone bodies, so then followed by then fatty acids, then, so after that, glucose. So glucose pairing is taking place, okay, glucose. So these are the various aspects. These are the various aspects, general aspects of integration of metabolism. Now I will summarize whatever we have studied in this session. In this session, we set 3 objectives while discussing about the general aspects, definition, and types and ways of this integration of metabolism and significance. So metabolism, while studying metabolism, we are studying in a separate way, okay, for a convenience point of view. But in the cell, it is not like that. Most of the metabolic pathways, they take place simultaneously, as metabolism is a continuous process. Okay, so most of the pathways, they occur simultaneously. Okay, so then when they are occurring simultaneously, integration takes place. One pathway is dependent on other pathway. One particular nutrient fuel can participate in number of pathways. Okay, so there must be coordination between the various nutrients, also various tissues and organs. Okay, why integration? To maintain cellular homeostasis. Okay, so then in the first objective, so we have defined the integration. Integration is a coordination among various metabolites. So then the second object was types and ways of integration. It is at cellular level and also at organ or tissue level. Then in the third objective, we studied about the significance of integration. So the 3 aspects are there. Ensuring the supply of fuel in all the tissues, all times, whether it's a fed state, fasting state, or during starvation. Okay, then calorie maintains the calorie balance under positive and negative, okay, conditions. In the positive, when food supply is there, storage is taking place either in the form of glycogen or fat or both. In the negative, when there is a fasting condition, prolonged fasting condition, fatty acids are oxidized, sparing the glucose for those tissues, organs such as brain and RBC, where there is an absolute requirement of glucose. The third aspect is there when there is no supply of carbohydrates, which are the fuels which are oxidized in preferential way. So that is first one ketone bodies, then fatty acids. If there is no other way, glucose will be used. This is the order of the preference. In the next sessions, we'll discuss about the integration at the cellular level. Then we'll discuss about the various aspects in the organs, tissues, and integration. Okay, so thank you very much.